Let's talk about big winners and losers. Does anybody pop in your mind, Brian, before I get going here with the Athletics list? It's Saad Yousuf.
Yeah, just, I can only look at my board, and how I had guys ranked. I'll give Dallas some credit for the first three because off my board, the first three were my top 37 players.
Okay, but this one's looking at people that were already on the Cowboys. Yeah. And after this draft, it reflects well, or maybe it spells doom for him. Like if you're Hunter Lipke right now, are you a loser right now because they added two running backs?
I'm sorry. No. Oh, okay. I see what this is all about then. No. You know what? I'm interested now what's going to happen on the edge then. With the situation with I kind of feel like that you look at with some of the additions that they made with Turner and now Ezeraku and all. What does that mean for Sam Williams on this thing? What does this mean for that? If in fact that he doesn't come into camp in great shape and ready to go and all that. I mean, I think that he's a guy that's lost some sponsors. That they've gone on to other teams and stuff. Guys that liked him. Dan Quinn really liked him a lot. They thought about drafting him. They got him in the second round, and they thought really highly of this guy. But he really hasn't done very much. So you just wonder with the number of defensive ends that they have, could he be an odd man out with some guys they might want to keep?
He is one of the players, that Saad Yousuf pointed out here because of.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you about who won the draft and kind of a thing.
I mean, you have his injury, you have head scratching mistakes, you have off the field maturity concerns with Sam Williams. I think it just further. Narrows the margin for error that he has. He's got to have a big season. Otherwise, he'll probably be looking to pick up his career somewhere else.
I agree. Yeah.
So he's one of the players. I think, the other players are probably the veteran guards.
Yeah. I think that when you start to talk about these offensive linemen, with some of the guys, I mean, they add Robert Jones and Sadiq Charles and guys like that. And now do you wonder, okay, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the Matt Willetskos?
TJ Bass,
Hoffman. Yeah, those guys are clearly in the crosshairs right now, maybe losing spots.
Amongst your winners on this Cowboys team following the draft, Jake Ferguson, they did not go out and acquire any more competition for him. So the biggest threat to his job as the starter is emergence of the 2023 second-rounder Luke Schoonmaker, who did have a couple of nice games last year.
He did. And once Ferguson went down, there was some opportunities that he had to make plays, and he was able to do that. I think his blocking got better. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is another year, another opportunity for John Stevens. They really, really like John Stevens a lot, but he just cannot stay healthy. And, if this is another training camp where something does happen to him, then, I think that Ferguson is probably pretty safe, and so would be Schoonmaker.
That tight end room, fairly interesting. I think you have a number of guys who, could develop into something. And, right now, I think you need a guy who can really help the run game, right? And I don't know which one of them that is.
They need Jake Ferguson to get back to Jake. And we talked about this, I believe this morning, Eric, then we had a little bit on the Love of the Star about Jake Ferguson. And you don't have, they're hunting maybe a second wide receiver, but could you get around not having a second wide receiver if you had Ferguson playing better? You use Blue in the way you use him or going to use him, and then maybe even with Turpin. Do you how do you get you could get the catches for a lot of different guys if you don't have that second guy, if they in fact went that way. But they need Jake Ferguson to get back to where he was, pre-concussion, pre-knee. Yeah, that was a real weapon right there.
He was, and when he's playing like that, yes, I do believe you don't need a second wide receiver if you're thinking 24 or 25 points. If you want to go back into 30 range, you're going to need one of the better wide receiver twos.
They know they need a wide receiver. Folks, please don't get me wrong there. But if in fact it turns into, okay, they couldn't get one through trade, they couldn't get one through free agency, they couldn't get one after June 1 cuts. If they go into it, then it's going to be about now we're going to have to make up with that. You have Tolbert and others, but it's going to have to be about Blue and Ferguson and those guys.
Okay, other winners here for the Cowboys following the draft. Dak Prescott, says the Athletic Saad Yousuf, because as he's turning 32 in July, they add another round 1 offensive lineman. You also add Jaden Blue, who's a Tony Pollard-esque elusive back with receiving skills.
Better player. I think better player. Yeah.
Man, that'd be awesome. If he is a better pro than Tony Pollard, we are in great shape. I think you might have already found your running back there in the 5th round. That'd be a heck of a job team building. I don't know if Dak's a winner here. I not yet. I got to see that Blue's great, and I got to see that the offensive line is taking steps in the right direction with Beebe and Guyton.
Yeah, but they're taking steps the right direction because they drafted a guard, which you asked them to do. You asked them to get Dak help.
Yeah,
and they got him help. They didn't get him. They might have got him skill help. I'll give you that one.
They tried to get him help. I don't know if they have yet.
I think to me that when you look at, I think Blue is definitely going to help. I think Tyler Booker is a huge upgrade for them at right guard. When you start to talk about Hoffman and Bass, we didn't want those guys playing 17 games.
No.
To me, and I think we need to be more consistent about that. You said get him help with the offensive line. I think they did. I think you'd have to say that he won on this one.
Well, this is the difference between you being a scout and me being a radio guy. I need to show up to Oxnard and see this Booker guy playing well. I need to see preseason games of him playing well because busts at 12 happen all the time.
Well, but my point is you asked them to get an offensive lineman, and they got an offensive lineman.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they tried. They tried. And we'll see if it worked.
You're killing them for drafting an offensive line.
I'm not killing them.
It sounds like you're saying
it's incomplete.
You sound like you have questions about, and sure, I mean, there's been times where we've been throughout this, and you're like, damn, Wolchuk, I like what you're saying about Booker. Damn, Broaddus, I like what you're saying about Booker. Yeah. I mean, to me, it just seems a little off that they could have drafted something else, and you'd been like, well, hell, they didn't get Dak help with an offensive lineman, but they did get him help. I get it. We have to see how he plays.
Are they better today with Booker than they were 12 months ago with Zach Martin at right guard?
Well, Zach Martin was older and banged up. Yeah, they're better. Right now, they're better. Yes, they're better.
Stand on it, baby. I like that.
Well, I
just think that we need to be more consistent about it.
Well, I think we need to be more open-minded that what we think about a player we draft might
Dawson,
suck.
If open-minded is you asked them to get an offensive lineman, and they did.
But now I'm asking you to be open-minded.
I am open-minded.
I'm saying when you think a player is going to be good.
I would have taken Donovan Jackson if it was me.
I know, and I think I would have liked that pick better based on how you explained it.
That's fine.
But, what I'm saying is just be open-minded to the idea that maybe he can't play.
Be open-minded.
Maybe he can't play. Would that help Dak if he can't play?
Dawson,
would that help Dak if he's an unathletic guy that can't play pin and pull?
He is, by all measures, he's a first-round offensive lineman that's one of the best guards in the league. You asked the front office to get him help.
Yeah, and I love the pick. I love the pick.
Okay.
But I don't know. I haven't seen it, Brian. I don't know what he can do at the NFL level. I know what he can do in college, and it was damn impressive. But I'm not going to know until the games start, and then I'll know if they help Dak.
But it sounds like you're downgrading it because you don't know the player.
That's right.
But
because I didn't scout him.
But they got a player that you want. You asked them.
Yeah.
You asked them
because when you take a player, it's a probability of success.
You can say that about every one of these guys, Dawson.
Exactly.
Every one of these guys.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys just had a draft.
They did.
They just had a draft.
Well, I mean, if you scout them, right?
They had a draft.
Do you want me stepping in there and debating the traits of a player with you if I haven't scouted them?
Dawson, you asked them, and you trust that me and Wolchuk maybe have an idea what we're talking about here.
I do. Yeah.
And so by doing that, you say, well, I like what you're saying about this Booker kid.
Yep.
But you've asked them to get an offensive lineman, so I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt there, at least to start out with. It sounds like you have questions about them drafting a guard.
I don't have any questions about their decision to draft a guard. I love that pick.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Just so we're clear on that. Other winners, Brian Schottenheimer, first draft as a head coach, been in the draft room plenty over the decades as an assistant, but there's a different level of authority.
Yeah.
And he did a nice job.
They leaned on him in this one. They did. And there was some things that, like, when it was day 2, I got over there early and I was watching. I was in where we were broadcasting, and I was watching him, Will McClay, and Stephen Jones go through. And this is how I think they got to the Ezraku pick. This is how I think they had an idea. Like, you could see that Schottenheimer was over on the board. Will had an idea. Will was having a discussion, like trying to tell them, hey, if it falls this way, this is maybe the way we go. I think Brian Schottenheimer had a lot to do with what they're doing in that war room. So that part of it, I think sometimes these coaches don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
I think with his background and with his dad and all that, and being around football and and he has the advantage of knowing what works and what doesn't work with this team. So I think he was a big part of that.
I mean, that's huge. Part of success here for this Cowboys team is having a coach like I felt like they had in Jason Garrett who can help this process.
Yeah,
be better.
Garrett was. I would have loved to work with Garrett as an evaluator, as him being a head coach with his knowledge of players. I think he had a really good understanding for that.